Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's October 16th, 2011. And I wanted to comment on a number of another things. Hopefully I'm going to make this covering a bunch of issues, but sometimes I get sidetracked and drift off into Never Never Wonderland or something. Uh, since it's right here at the top, this Martin Luther King Memorial dedication, and there's a controversy about a quote that they've got carved into stone there or whatever. And I remember seeing the news report about it. I'm thinking, uh, the people who are objecting, okay, you don't like that, there's a whole bunch of quotes, from him that are carved into stone. Somebody probably did a kind of a bad job of editing that one or something to get it to fit. If I were the memorial people and whatever, I would just go and chip it off, just take his quote off, just leave it off. They got lots of quotes, and I didn't think that was all that great of a quote, just take the damn thing off. So, the other thing I wanted to comment about was on the Republican uh, campaign, the primaries, these states, the Republican Party in these states are trying to, they want to move theirs ahead of everybody else's. And I mean, it's just kind of throwing everything into disarray, and it's really, I mean, the campaign starts early enough. I mean, too early now, and they just want to make it, and it's just so stupid. I don't know why the Republican Party just doesn't say, no primaries and caucuses or anything before such and such a date, January 1st or whatever whatever the date they want to set. Nothing before that. And then just say any state that, Republican Party in the state, and they hold their caucus or their primary before that date, we're not counting we're not counting those votes. You're not even going to, don't even show up at the convention. You're not going to be at the convention. So if it's, let's take Alabama, because you always, let's just take Alabama. I don't think they're involved in this controversy, but then when you see all those states out there at the Republican convention with the cameras and everything going, there'd be no sign for the state of Alabama. There'd be nobody sitting there, and there wouldn't be an area for them. And when it comes to the roll call vote, you wouldn't start with Alabama, and there wouldn't be anybody able to say, for the great state of Alabama, we nominate, I mean, just do that. That takes care of it. I don't know why they just don't do that, but it is crazy that the entire system is, messed up also. On the Republican Party, the way the thing is set up, well, Democrats too, but let's take the way the Republican Party is set up. You've got these key states like Iowa, and God bless Iowa. I spent a summer in Council Bluffs, Iowa, when I was a kid. Great state, but you've got these people up there who have this agenda, and they're going to vote for a certain type of person, or they're going to vote against a certain type of a person, and it's not reflective of the American people or what the American people want or what they're going to vote for. But it has this undue influence, which seems like it's kind of waste. I mean, so you've got some of these primaries, especially for the Republicans, it seems, you got these primaries, and when you watch the news coming in for the first few weeks or whatever on this thing, it's going to look like, oh, the Republican Party and the American people, they want this Baptist minister to be president of the United States, and they want somebody who, believes that you should eat nothing but corn, and I mean, it's just so you're watching this, and then of course you go to real states, and then real, so I don't know. I don't know what the solution is to that problem of except the Republican Party should just say, okay, if you set your dates for these votes before whatever date they decide is to, they don't want to be any earlier than that. We're not even don't even show up at our convention. But they're not going to do it. Let me look here. See, I totally off subject. Uh, the protest. I just hope there isn't. The American people we're a strange people. I just hope that there isn't any violence at your cause can be just. You can be 100% right. But if there is rioting and if there is a wrong type of, now and over in Europe, I mean, it looks to me like when I'm seeing the news, maybe I'm not seeing it, filtered by the American press correct, but when I see it looks like they have protests over there all the time. And part of the protest is burn cars and smash windows or whatever. And that just seems to be like, okay, that's the way we protest. Here in the United States, if that happens, if there's rioting, even if your cause is just, even if you're Catholic nuns protesting for saving babies' lives or little puppies are cute or something, if you're Catholic nuns, if you go out and smash windows and set cars on fire, people will turn against you. So I just hope there isn't any violence, and of course I understand that sometimes, and perhaps almost all the time, it's up to the police how they respond. But I just hope at these protests that they're, and I hope too something comes out of the protest. The news media isn't reporting on it very much on the protest. Really, maybe they'll start to do it, which is funny. They reported on the Tea Party protest all the time. They, of course, Fox News, which started the, Tea Party protest, and I mean, it was like their thing. I mean, they had buses. They went along with the people and reported from, for some reason, it doesn't seem that these protests are being covered in the same manner yet. Maybe they will be. I just hope they come up with something. The number one thing I would like to see, which I don't know if they're talking about that at all, is I would like to see, which can't be done overnight, and politicians can't go into the group and say, yes, okay, we'll do it for you. But what I'd like to see, number one, would be public financing of the House of Representatives campaigns, and do away with with House members being able to take any money at all at any time. You get elected to the House of Representatives. The campaign is paid for by public financing. I don't know how exactly they'd work it out, but I'm sure there's smart people that can figure out how you do that to make it fair and equitable for everybody. And that would cut out the money. There'd be no reason, in fact, it'd be against the law for a House member to take any money from a lobbyist or anything from a lobbyist. The second thing I would like to see would be to put an end to this fact that, or not fact, but the ruling of the Supreme Court that corporations are people, and that corporations can donate and spend unlimited amounts of money to influence the elections, and that and it doesn't have to be reported, and just that entire. Now, I'd like to see that. Now that's probably, I guess, well, since the Supreme Court ruled that they were allowed to do that, I guess it's going to take a constitutional amendment, which is difficult to, have, but I'd like to see them work on that. But that's also something that's not going to happen immediately. The thing with the banks, I mean, I had dealings like with Bank of America years ago. I had an account with bank. When I was in Belton, Missouri. I was dealing with a local bank, and it got taken over by a state chain of banks, and that was taken over by, I think, a regional, all within a short period of time, and then that was taken over by Bank of America, or whatever. I got a notice back years ago. The bank, as an example, Bank of America. It was what do you call these? They had agreed, there was a lawsuit, and Bank of America had agreed that they had, done wrong, and there was going to be a settlement of millions upon millions upon millions of dollars for what they did wrong. And I got a notice that, hey, sign off on this thing here, and you'll get $5 or something. Rather than, of course, the lawyers were getting millions upon millions of dollars. I didn't even bother to sign off. What Bank of America was doing then, and they've continued to do, and not just Bank of America, but other banks. Well, this one I think Bank of America did. I don't know if anybody else copied them or not. But what they were doing was, it was policy, company, bank, corporation policy. If I made a deposit, I mail a deposit in, the deposit comes in, okay, this is a deposit, and they put it over here, set it aside. They don't put it on your account, they set it aside. And then they waited, and they made sure that all the checks that you wrote and all this type of stuff, that everything, that automatic deductions, all those things that, came out. And then at some point, oh, okay, now, and so what was happening, people were having checks bounce because they made deposits, but the deposit, and the bank, of course, got, I don't know, $40 for a bad check charge, and I guess it would be $40 for, anyway, it was just, and it was a racket. Now, the banks have been doing all sorts of, banks and credit cards a while back. They were charging, and they still are, exorbitant fees, interest fees, and doing all sorts of things, raising the fee without giving you notice, just doing everything that is evil and corrupt, and so what the Congress decided to do, the Democrats in the Congress, when they had control, is they passed. First they put forward a bill, and the bill was set forward, okay, well, you can't, do the following things. You can't just raise interest rates without notice. You can't, you can't do these they looked at what the evils were, and they wrote a bill to try to correct it. And the banks, I remember back, the banks back then said, don't you dare do this, and of course, don't you dare do this. Just don't do this, or else. So the Congress passed it, and they passed it, and it was to take on effective beginning of the next year or something. I'm not sure the exact date. It might have been the middle of the next year or whatever. But it was to be effective, let's say January 1st of next year. So what did the banks do? Yeah, you got it. They just raised all their interest rates up. They just did everything they could do. They just raised, fuck you, Congress, fuck you. And they raised everything. This is the same thing with this. Congress passed, there's the banks and the credit card companies, one and the same really, have these exorbitant fees that they charge to, you go to the convenience store or a little store or whatever, and you buy something with your card, and they charge the stores way too much money. And it may cost 2 cents or 5 cents for this electronic transaction to take place, and they charge a percentage, or instead of 2 cents for costing for it, they charge 50 cents or more, I guess, for the transaction. And it's clearly just a way to, the credit card companies rake in the money. It's not, and they've got more money, they got tons of money. So Congress said, okay, wait a minute, so they come up with a bill. We're going to pass a bill that's going to limit how much, you can charge for these transactions, because it's way, and we're not, we're not making it where you're not going to make any profit, and we're not making it where it's going to hurt you. I mean, what we're cutting down this extreme amount, that this excessive profit, this criminal greed on your part. We're cutting it down. And the banks and the credit card company, don't you dare do it. If you do it, and they actually said that if you do that, we'll make everybody who has a debit card, we'll charge them a monthly fee. We'll do the following. Well, Congress passed this thing, and I forget which bank it is, but anyway, that's what the bank or the credit card did. I think it was Bank of America, and others are following suit. All of a sudden, if you have a debit card that you've been using, even if you don't use it, and there was no charge before. Of course, there was a charge when when you went to take money out of an ATM. There was a charge, an exorbitant charge of $2, $2.50, $3 just to take $20 out of an account. I mean, they had those fees, but they just announced, okay, Congress passed that, and so from now on, even if you don't even use your debit card, there's a $5 a month fee or whatever. So that's something I would like to see. That's something that can be done right away. And I said this back when they, with this deal is what I would just, if I were the government, what I would just do is I'd just pass another law, and I'd just say, well, there's going to be a tax on, the credit card people or the bank, whoever's doing it. There's a tax now. Now that you have this $5 a month fee, you're going to be charged $6 a month for every one of these. Do the math, figure it out. Instead of, you're making $5 a month, but we're charging you $6 a month. That's tax, just a special tax just on that for every one of those, and then all that money would go into the budget or something. Could be used, you could take and use it for housing situation, or you could take that money and just take it away. Not just the $5, take an extra buck away, which might actually hurt them, because they'd be losing extra, losing extra amount. And with the situation before, when the Congress passed the thing and said, you can't do the interest rates, and you can't do, on these credit cards, and you can't trick people by saying, oh, here is a credit card, and the interest rate is only 6% when you buy something with this credit card. And then the rules are in there that if you are 1 day late with making a payment, the rate goes up to 12% or 24%, or if, all these little things that they do. When they pass this thing, and when these companies, and I actually don't use credit cards, I can't be trusted with a credit card, but so it doesn't really affect me. I got relatives though that immediately, when they passed this thing, all their credit cards got, the interest rates went up, all this type of stuff. What the Congress should have done is said, oh, we said that the interest rates or everything was going to happen January 1st. And then you think you're above the law, you're a criminal enterprise, so it's actually going to go back to, these changes that are going to go back to before we passed the law, or the day we passed the law, or before we passed the beginning of the year before the year that we passed the law. Those rates are locked in, and you can't do the I mean, what Congress needs to do when these banks and corporations pull this kind of crap is come back at them 100-fold. Come back with crushing regulations. come back at them with crushing regulation so that, okay, no, oh, we won't do such and such. But that doesn't happen. In fact, the banks, and in fact, because of the elections, because of money, the congressmen are in the pockets of, oh my God, has this been 20 minutes? That's it. Sorry. I appreciate you. If you stuck to the end, you're a hero. Thank you very much.